What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to talk to you about SoundHound. I want to go over some expectations for this upcoming week, where I see things going, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So starting off with macro data, we don't really have that much coming out on Monday. Tuesday is going to be a big day for the week. So we have ADP employment, and so that's the weekly. Previous was negative 2,500, PPI, retail sales, and also we have consumer confidence. All have shown at one time or another that it can move the market. So especially with the looming fear of consumers, a lot of that data is going to really either solidify a rate cut. So because of, luckily enough, Williams on Friday saying that there's a good likelihood of a December rate cut, market started to truly believe that. So before Williams, the likelihood was only like 30-something%. Now we are going into this upcoming week with a 71% likelihood of a 25 basis point cut. And based on all that data coming out on Tuesday, it could really solidify this or completely break it down. So we'll have to kind of wait and see, but Tuesday is going to be the big week for the market, and of course that's going to cause a lot of volatility in either direction, so just somewhat be aware of that. And we've seen a lot more volatile days than not, so it's been a very interesting market. But aside from that, on Wednesday we do have some key data, none of which in my opinion is going to really influence SoundHound, and then we do have initial jobless claims. So with Thursday, Thursday, Black Friday, the market does close at 1. There isn't any data points on Thursday, so most likely that's going to be pretty much a desert. Nobody's really going to be trading, very low volume. Same goes for Friday. So typically, on a side note, I actually look forward to these types of days. So I'm a Canadian, in case you didn't know, and typically Friday, so November the 28th, gives a very good insight to who is shorting a stock. And a lot of stocks I do actually cover are arguably heavily shorted, including SoundHound. And the reason why I get excited about the 28th is because normally bankers, big money, they take the Friday off. I'm sure many of you as well are going to be taking the Friday off. The market's still open. So when it comes down to shorts, if shorts are active, then it is fair to assume that it is either a Canadian or European that is shorting SoundHound. Versus if we see absolutely nothing occur, then it is fair to assume that it is an American entity that is shorting SoundHound. So it does give some insight, because unfortunately 13Fs, they don't really have to say who is shorting. So until the SEC kind of unveils their transparency rule, which was supposed to have come out in 2024, but I do believe it's been pushed back to 2026, if it even comes out at all. But nonetheless, I'm kind of excited for this upcoming Friday just to see how active shorts are. Going into this upcoming week, 28.3% of the free float is being shorted, works out to be 107.21 million shares overall are being shorted. Shorts alone did increase 541,000 shares on Friday. So I did a video on SoundHound on Friday where I mentioned that it was rather hollow. And what I mean by that is we did have a lot of initial fear, and then we had some good data and so forth that really caused the market to recover. But that recovery was largely driven by algorithmic trading. And it wasn't just SoundHound. On a side note, many stocks went through this exact same recovery. It was algorithmic trading. And so ultimately, I do believe one thing that's happened with SoundHound and the broader market is all of this sell-off was because of algorithmic trading. And so I guess this is the new day and age where whatever AI thinks is happening is going to really impact the market. And what I find interesting is that it doesn't matter if AI is selling off and every institution buys, AI is more powerful than any institution and all retail combined. So this is why every single video I kind of go over where volume comes from. But all of that suppression led to legitimate fear. Even though on Friday, yes, we did get artificially kind of pushed higher, but if that artificial kind of momentum does get us back above, for instance, a 200-day moving average, then you could actually see legitimate optimism pushing kind of SoundHound higher. So it's going to all come down to, like I said, the data. Tuesday is going to be a big one for the broader market. But shorts did kind of increase quite a lot because they felt that the recovery wasn't justified. So this is again why I like to go over data, but there really hasn't been anything from SoundHound, nothing really posted on social media. So they are going to be participating in this. So the CES, January 6th to the 9th. And then aside from that though, that's been pretty much it. There has been no news, no SEC filings or anything. And again, for those of you that tune into a lot of my videos, even when SoundHound was starting to move higher, I didn't complain, but I did say that none of this kind of price action of SoundHound moving higher had to do with the business. There was very little in operational updates that justified this. Rather, it was just piggybacking off of the broader markets and more specifically the tech and AI sectors. Like things were booming. So I think SoundHound does get largely influenced. Nothing really wrong with that, like I said, but that does mean that you could see some volatile days ahead. So if you believe in SoundHound, buy the dip, average down, because months down the line, I think generally it will work out. No different than what happened when we sold off in kind of end of 2024. For those of you that did buy in kind of the $10 range and where we are now, you made some pretty good money. I know it didn't happen overnight, but it's still, you did make some money. So I bought a little bit more on Friday on a side note. And I didn't do it through selling puts. I just went to the open market and bought more. So I do really like SoundHound at these prices. Yes, hypothetically, it could go down. So we did see on Friday when it sold off, this 1077, which in theory is going to be the next strong support, it didn't even phase it. So I wouldn't really consider that strong. So 946 potentially is going to be the next strong support going into this upcoming week. And with us closing at 1122, that is between the S1 and this S2. So 1158 is going to be the next strong target. Realistically, and being optimistic, I do feel Tuesday's data is really going to push the broader market higher. So I do feel by the end of the week, we should be between this pivot and this S1. Not really enough to get above this 1290, but it should come close to that. Flip side, as I mentioned, in theory, if Tuesday's data comes in negative, you could be seeing that 946 being touched, and probably shorts will be trying to guide SoundHound down a little bit lower. So just anticipate a lot of volatility. Going into this upcoming week though, looking at the options from a bull standpoint, you see a consensus for it to be kind of around that $12 range. Bears are anticipating for it to be sub 11. So with us closing where we did, there's kind of even back and forth. So it's going to be a lot of volatile days ahead, but if you do believe that this sell-off is unjustified, then buy the dip. Obviously, you guys do your own due diligence, and these videos are not oriented to get you to buy, nor for you to sell or anything. It's just interpreting the data, and largely it's been accurate. Yes, here and there, sometimes random things come out that mess with the broader market, but largely, if you stay unbiased and don't kind of trade with emotion, if you look at the data, it's pretty simple on where things might be going. So let me know your general thoughts on SoundHound. Are you buying? Are you selling? Where do you realistically see things going? And so again, I know I kind of brought this up a little bit, but that 200-day moving average is sitting at 1216, and then that 10-day moving average, which are both big deals for a lot of growth stocks, is sitting at 1225. So just watch for those, at least for this week. And if best case scenario, it's able to get above that, then we should see a very nice recovery to at least about that 1460. But you do see a lot of good kind of willing sellers. So a strong wall up until around that 1245. So it's going to be a little bit more of a challenge. So again, just refer back to a lot of these if you're wanting to dollar cost average. But I do feel realistically 946 could be that bottom. Let me know your general thoughts on SoundHound. One final thing, for a Black Friday promotion, I did put this down to $10, so swing trades, and I've been putting out some absolute bangers. So I put out crypto and also stock swing trades on here, and even aside from that though, I put out a lot of kind of good buy signals in general. So definitely pop over to my stacked account, link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.